Okay. All right then. So we'll start the meeting. Welcome to the Downtown Brantford Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting for November 10th. Annette, could you do the roll call, please?
Barbara Sutherland,
Present.
Dwight Rose,
Present.
Harry Korfman,
Present.
Kathy Oden,
Here.
Karen Towler,
Here.
Anne Marie Bowe,
Here.
Lizanna Coster,
Here.
Councillor Wall.
Present.
There's your board.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to have approval of the agenda. Someone move that for me, please. Kathy, and seconded. Dwight, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, and next up, number 4, and we are welcoming Chief Rob Davis. Go ahead, Chief Davis.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. What's my time?
You have, well, 10 minutes, but if you need a little bit more, let me know.
All right, thanks. I'll try to stay with the 10 minutes. I just want to cover off 4 things that are constantly surfacing. So I'm hearing pretty well daily about the downtown, and I totally empathize. I walk through the downtown every day on the way to work. I'm downtown a lot. Some of you have seen me down there. I'll be out on patrol quite regularly. And I empathize with the calls and letters that I'm receiving. But there seems to be a recurring theme. There's a misunderstanding of the justice system. And sadly, this includes some people within the city that should know better, that are saying, the police need to do their job and just lock them up. And so I just need to let everybody know that that's not the way the system works. This belief that we as the police have arbitrary discretion to arrest people and hold them up or lock them up, and the length of lockup is misguided. It's not rooted in fact, and it's not reality. We are bound by the Criminal Code of Canada, which lays out very specifically our role in dealing with offenders. And we're also bound by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is the ultimate document we have to operate within. And so within that, we have the criteria for the offense, but there was bail reform that occurred in 2017. And the report that led to bail reform used Brantford as one of the cities they researched as an argument or justification for bail reform. In 2019, those recommendations were implemented. And I'll be quite candid, they were rushed. We get a notice about 4 weeks out that here's bail reform, train your officers, and this is the new normal. And what the new normal is, I'm going to paraphrase, is our duty is to try and facilitate the release of an offender in all circumstances except for the most serious of cases. And there's criteria laid out, at which point we then, all our job is to do is to gather the evidence and have that offender get in front of a justice of the peace. My observation has been that the justice of the peace, or the plural of that, are not holding the offenders. We have numerous repeat offenders out there that prior to bail reform would have been held in custody. Amplifying that is COVID. We saw very early on into the COVID pandemic that there was a reluctance to send offenders to Maplehurst for fear that they would be subject to catching the virus in close quarters. So we have these bail reform that was not really rolled out. COVID happened, and then the impacts of COVID hitting us is the third factor. And we're frustrated as well. So it's become a revolving door. We don't sugarcoat that. Our officers are completely frustrated. I've put together a top 10 list this time last year, and we've kept updating that. I'll be doing the updated version of that in January. That top 10 is just the top 10 for presentation purposes. That list is actually closer to 30 of prolific offenders that are doing the car prowlings, the break and enters, the garage entries, causing a lot of the issues you're dealing with. And the top 10 alone account for over 200 charges where they've been arrested and they're just back out on the street. And so I just needed to set the record straight that this belief that the police can just lock them up, the police need to do their job and lock them up, it's not founded in reality. We cannot arbitrarily detain people and lock them up. So we feel your frustration. I'm hearing it daily. It appears that the victim of crimes' rights are secondary to the offender's rights, and we feel the same. Our officers feel the exact same. And so the only way this will change is we need each and every one of you. You need to lobby your MP, Larry Brock. Larry's been a Crown here for over 3 decades. He understands the issues. We need to lobby our MPP, Will Bouma, because the provincial government still has a role. So the law is set by the federal government, but the administration of it, specifically the Justice of the Peace, they're provincial appointees operating in a provincial court. So there is a role here for the MP to have some influence. But we need everyone to be vocal, because when the police lead the argument, we're accused of not being sympathetic, empathetic, and all these other things. We need the public and business owners such as yourself and politicians such as Mr. Wall to lead the charge. We need that bail reform to be revisited. And we're not alone. I can tell you we're not alone as a city. When I talk to my colleagues in other cities, we're all experiencing this frustration of this revolving door. And then I won't elaborate on it today, but you throw into the mix homelessness, mental health, and drug addiction. Those are all things that the police, we have to be very cautious, because there are groups out there that will demonize us. You see it daily in the papers. If you watched the events in Hamilton over the last week, they tore down their homeless encampment 2 days ago. But the lead up to that, there were a number of civil liberty groups that were very vocal about the police action. So we need to balance that. But that, I could talk for 2 hours on that piece. But there are some definite gaps in legislation that need to occur there, and I'd love to come back and speak at another time about my thoughts on that, specifically around mental health and drug addiction. The other thing that we're experiencing is displacement. The city launched their private security last year, and they did an outstanding job with city-owned properties. But what we are observing from the officers on the front line and my own observations, it's been displaced to your properties. Or if it's not there, it's out of sight, out of mind, along the running trails, along the river. And so we're experiencing that displacement. And so we're feeling it. We predicted this last year, that we'd asked for our special constables, because we knew there would be this displacement issue. I've talked about the stratified approach. You know, the stratified approach isn't picking A, C, and F. It's not an a la carte menu. It's a stratified approach with all of the pieces working together, and we're not there. So we feel that, we see that, and we empathize with you on that part, because it created a tidal wave that we weren't ready for. And then again, amplified with COVID, that we're seeing the congregation of people in the downtown. The other item I'd like to cover is actually sort of 3 pieces, is our resources. So I always refer to the Brantford Police Service and the city of Brantford. We're in that awkward teenager stage. We think we're ready to leave home, and we think we're ready to stand up to mom and dad, but really, are we? And that's what I see, is we talk like we're going to be a big city, and we're planning to be 300,000, yet we operate like we're a small town of 40,000. And this is frustrating, because there's this naive belief that we're not dealing with big city issues, and our resources are strained. I worked intimately with the police service when I was leading a joint forces operation before I left for Dryden in 2011. The Brantford police were putting 10 cops on the street then. I come back a decade later, they're putting 10 cops out in the street now, yet the city's grown around 30,000. And more importantly, it's the type of crime we're experiencing here. You know, when I see the mayor or other elected officials promote Brantford, bring your business here, bring your factory here, move your family here. We're centrally located. We're on the 400 series highways. We have the CN rail line. We're close to the US border. Those things are all very true, but all of those tenets are equally true to organized crime and criminal organizations like gangs. Because we're not in Toronto, where they have the huge gang units. We are more affordable to set up operation, and we're centrally located. You have to think of the drug industry and the human trafficking industry and the gun industry, the illicit industries. All those tenets apply to them as well. And so what we've seen is the type of crime here is we're dealing with the exact same issues as Toronto or Hamilton or Peel, but we're still operating with very close to the same resources as a decade ago. And that's, we're going into budget discussions, and inevitably someone will ask about what's your pop to cop ratio, chief, and want to compare it to other cities. But you cannot compare the pop to cop ratio of Brantford to, say, Georgetown or even Guelph. We are a very, very different social demographic, and we have a very, very different type of crime here. And so being serious crime, we have very serious crime occurring here. Look at the shootings and stabbings that we're having. Look at the number of arrests we're making for possession for the purpose of trafficking. So we need, these serious crimes need the real police to take on those duties. And that needs to then delegate the lower end duties, not minimizing their importance, to a core of officers that have the capabilities to do that. And again, this is the special constables. Adding to our resource challenges are WSIB and PTSD. There's research going on right now by our colleagues in the West that are doing a national study, and early indications are 20 to 30% of the workforce will be suffering with PTSD at any given time. So if you apply that to our situation with 200 officers, we're pretty well right in that range with 20 to 30 officers off. So this is where we need a formula that will allow us to replenish those officers when they do go off on WSIB to PTSD, so that we can be at our full operating strength. So I just wanted to that's a challenge we face continually. We hired 10 last year, and then we're dealing with WSIB claims, as well as a very young police service. We have a lot of officers that are taking parental leave, which they're legally entitled to, and I encourage them to. So these are dynamics we're facing for our staffing levels, which is my segue to something has to give. I need to free up officers to tackle these serious crimes, which can only be done through intelligence-led joint forces operations with our neighbors around us, like Hamilton, like Peel, like Halton, and the OPP. I also need officers that can focus on the serious crimes in the city. When we have the shooting on a street in the city, that requires a lot of resources for the first 48 to 72 hours, and they have to come from somewhere. So I'm once again going to include in my budget ask this year for a core group of special constables, 8, to be dedicated to the downtown, Eagle Place, and sort of half of Echo. But I'm also asking for an additional 8 to be assigned to the platoons to take on those lower end types of crimes that do not require a full-fledged officer with 10 years experience. I need those officers to work on the serious crimes. And the special constables, I can control their duties. I can control their legislative authorities through permission from the province, and they will be effective. And I always compare this to pro sports. That becomes my feeder league. That's my AHL. And I can tell you from my own experience as a former coming through that career trajectory and having implemented it in another service, that those officers doing that role will work extremely hard because they want to become a full-fledged officer. And so I ask that the DBBIA be supportive of this ask. When we get before council, if you're friends with any of the board members, please share your frustrations, because we have a plan. We can implement it, and there's some misleading information out there about it can be blocked. Really, at the end of the day, if the ministry grants us the authorities, which all indications are they will, they're in play. And when the new police act comes out, that delegation authority is actually going to become a responsibility of the local board. So the timing is great. We can make it happen, and we can have them, if it's approved, hopefully our budget's approved by late January, early February, we could have them hired, trained, and on the street for when we have the nice weather in 2022. So I really hope we can have your support, and I'll wrap it up. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, Chief Davis. I'll give you a little bit of information from our meetings during this week. Excuse me. The BIAs all belong to an association called the Ontario BIA, and they're not a regulatory body, but they're representative. And so Annette and I have attended those meetings and stressed the importance of, sort of a group of, I don't know how many members of BIAs are across Ontario, but if we have that number of people going to, writing a letter signed by all the BIAs to the feds and to the province and to our individual MPs and MPPs, talking about bill reform and all the things that you've mentioned. Excuse me, I think that's certainly more effective than just our BIA and Hamilton, than even the 29 from Hamilton or whatever. So we're looking at that, and we're pushing our provincial body to work with us and work with all of us in order to make that presentation en masse. I'll also let you know that during the task force, the security working group, this also came up, and the same conversation that there's more impact with a larger group than with individuals trying to apply to the MPPs or the MPs. So we're working on it. We're getting there. Okay. And I know we're a little bit over time with this presentation, but are there any questions of Chief Davis just while he's here? Okay, Dwight, go ahead.
I would say to Chief Davis there, we sympathize with our frustrations. Safety is the biggest item with the public, the city, everything here. Yet we fail to let them down on stuff. Now the judicial system has really let us down too, because they take away the tools that the policing had in the past here. Lots of times before an officer gets his paperwork done, the person that's been picked up is back out on the streets again. And that's not right. That just isn't right at all. So we're at full steam to see if we can get the province to change that judicial system to help the police force and the police force. Yes, things have changed. There's too much administration, I think, and not enough policing being done. And I mean that as far as community policing is concerned. And when Chief Davis left back in 2011, yes, it's the same force we have basically for an increase in population and everything going on. So it's a big influx, especially the counties into the city too. It's a whole different animal today with things. So thank you, Chief Davis.
Thank you. And
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if it's appropriate to ask now, Annette, but would I be able to come back next month to talk? There's 2 pieces of provincial legislation that would help us. I'd like to speak at next month if I could be invited back.
Please.
You can come back.
Yes.
All right, Lizanna?
I would just like to make a comment, and I thank you, Chief Davis, as well. I think it's well said what you said today, and so true. I don't think the answer is police or us gating everything. I think the answer is North America doing a rehab, a place to teach, to learn, to get off of drugs. I think it's way beyond local. All we're doing is shifting people from one place to another, in a jail, out of a jail, not in the courts. It's just a game of switch. So I think we need to look, as I'm hearing now is being said, it's way beyond us. It's a whole big thing that has to be not just from one door to another door. We need a cure. We need a place like a motel, that sort of a scenario where there's a training, there's teachers, there's drug rehab, there's doctors, there's everything there, and give them some pride to move on to maybe a better life, not just shifting them. And it's not Brentford, it's everywhere. So I think we need to go way beyond, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, next month I'll speak to that. There's a need for legislation with mental health and legislation with drug addiction. And it's
Yes,
within provincial purview. And if the pandemic taught us anything, it's how quickly the government can move if it chooses to and spend money on a crisis when it wants to. And I think
and that's the answer. That's the answer. And thank you so much for this happening. It's not local, it's everywhere. And we need to do something about it. Higher up.
Thank you, Lizanna. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Davis. I just have one more comment, and just to let you know about our BIA meeting again yesterday. I'm surprised at the number of BIAs that were talking about organized crime in their communities. And but no one, you speak to someone and they don't want to believe it's here, but it is. It's here, and it's in so many other smaller communities, and they're aware of it and they're dealing with it as well. So we're not blind to your problems and to our problems. All right. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to our minutes. Could we have a motion to approve our minutes of our September 8th meeting? Dwight, sorry, Dwight, seconded by Carrie. Thank you so much. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And motion to receive the report from our staff. I hope everyone looks at that, because and that covers a lot of ground in a month, and we meet quite often. So I appreciate everything Annette's doing, and do take the time to look through that report to see what we are doing. Motion to receive. Dwight, seconded by Kathy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right. Number 6.1, transfer of funds. Excuse me, Dwight. I'll let you carry these ones. You're looking for a motion for 6.1. You're making the motion? Okay. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Okay. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Kathy, if you want to discuss it.
Oh, yes, if you can just shed a little bit more light on it. I assume it's because we haven't been able to use funds on any beautification, given we're on hold with any streetscape work, infrastructure work in the downtown. So I assume that that's the purpose of moving the funds into a place where it can be used for events downtown. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Dwight.
Kathy, actually, the issue is we had budgeted $4,500 for events, and we had found that we had spent $4,000. There was a motions come forward. We will talk about it here on the next 6.2 here, where we wouldn't have had funds to support what we needed. So we looked at what we had, and we decided to split up the amount we had with the beautification there, which we hadn't used, to enable us to help out in these other areas under the circumstances. We're under a real crunch here because of clawbacks, and we've been unfairly treated, I think, but that's just my opinion with stuff. So this is the reason we moved the money, to enable us to support some of these other events. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to. So.
Any other questions or discussion? Sorry, I'm letting Joshua back in. Apparently we lost him. Sorry. All right. My apologies. Any other discussion on that? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Okay, carried. Thank you. And 6.2, do you want to lead with this one as well, Dwight? I'm sorry, Kathy, did you still have a question? Your hand's up.
No, I was just voting in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Dwight. Dwight?
Oh, 6.2, the request from the Jennifer Middleton for the $2,500 for the New Year's Eve event. The executive committee has recommended we support that with $2,500 this year. We do have some questions of Jennifer with the event itself, around the capacity, cancellation, and some other questions. So, wonder if Jennifer's available.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna call myself on a point of order. I didn't get a seconder for that, do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Okay, now we could discuss. Sorry. Jennifer, do you have any comments?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at 75% capacity now for outdoor events, which is just over 2,000 for Harmony Square. We also do not have to do pre-registration anymore, which is fantastic. But it worked quite well when we had to do pre-registration, but now people can just show up and be a part of the event. As for cancellation, if it's weather dependent, like if it's -30 like it was the one year, we would cancel. But other than that, the event will go full tilt unless something crazy happens in the world with this pandemic and gets canceled because of that. But I don't foresee anything like that happening. But if you support this and it were to get canceled, you would have a choice of a refund or to carry it over to next year.
Go ahead, Dwight.
Does this include the fireworks, Jennifer, again this year, or no fireworks?
Fireworks are back. So exciting.
Whoopee.
I don't know if everybody's as excited as I am, but bringing the fireworks makes me very happy.
Can you ensure we get the proper, we get noted there that we are contributing heavily towards this event for you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of $2,500 towards New Year's? And carried, thank you. All right, and number 3, we're all in a holiday spirit here. Christmas Carnival. Dwight, do you want to lead with this one? And I ask you to make the motion and ask for a seconder. Okay, Dwight's made the.
The executive committee has recommended that we approve the request for $250 for the Christmas Carnival to be held in Harmony Square.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Is that you, Kathy, or Karen? Karen, all right, thank you. All right, any conversation on the Christmas Carnival? Karen, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Kathy, your hand's up, so I don't know if you have a question. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Jennifer, I think that's wonderful that the city is looking at doing an activity considering the parade is not happening this year. And I'm thrilled at your creativity in bringing this forward. It's great.
All right, any other, Dwight, go ahead.
I mean, Jennifer, the carnival, what is the scope of the carnival? What is it going to involve? Just mainly at Harmony Square with the carnival going on, or, you know, Christmas?
Okay, are you ready? There's a lot happening. It's actually called the Holiday Carnival now, just as a correction.
Ready.
Okay, there is photos with Santa, there's a mini Ferris wheel, there's character meet and greets, there's letters to Santa, there's free giveaways of hot chocolate, popcorn, cotton candy, and then Dalhousie Street will be closed from Market to Queen. And I've partnered with the Brantford Area and Jeep Club, and they're going to decorate their Jeeps, and it'll be a stationary parade. So that means the cars are parked and people can walk around and see how they decorate their Jeeps. I don't know if you know anybody who owns a Jeep, but they take it very serious and they look fantastic when they decorate their Jeep. So you'll want to come down and check this out. And then, of course, we can't forget the Christmas tree lighting with Harmony Squirrel and some of our awesome counselors. And so that will be the start of the Christmas tree in Harmony Square. I think that's all.
What's the date of that, Jennifer?
November 27th. From 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay, I think I have 2 more questions. Kathy, did you have a comment?
No, Dwight covered my question. I want to know what the carnival would involve, so I'm all good.
Okay, and Karen?
I was very pleased to see the promotion and marketing on local radio.
Okay.
Well done, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. And Dwight, you've spoken twice. Do you,
One final comment. What about the security for this event? Is there extra security? Because, you know, no doubt we'll have, there will be some issues, you know, and we don't want people to get the wrong impression with a lot of things. So is it, I know we got security on the public areas, or public, or the city-owned properties, but is there going to be extra security downtown?
Yep, ever since we started back with events this year, there's been security on site for every event, and for the larger events, I add additional security, and we haven't had any issues.
Thank you.
okay, seeing no further questions, may I call the vote on this $250 for the holiday carnival? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, carried. Thank you. All right. 6.4, we've set a date for the annual general meeting, and that is December 9th at 6 p.m. and it will be virtual via Zoom. And Annette will be sending out notices and the agenda for that. Okay. Any questions on the AGM? No. All right. Downtown Improvement Task Force, we're going to ask Councillor Wall to give us an update on the task force. How's it going, Councillor Wall?
Good morning. I sent out an email to Annette this morning with the updates, and if anybody wants them, she could forward those to you. I'll still go through them now. I also included a copy of the agenda, which I'm going to reference in my speaking points here today, and the minutes have yet to be released by the clerk's department, but when they are, I'll ensure a copy gets sent out to Annette. So there was a communication and engagement schedule update, including the Let's Talk Brantford page through the city of Brantford, and that campaign began on October the 7th. There are 3 working groups that have come from the task force, which is a community consultation. There were 3 public sessions that were available. It was community consultation, support programming, and business success. Safety and security, and then there was the virtual town hall, which happened on October the 19th. Then there are 3 working groups that have come from the task force. That is the Community Supports Working Group, which you can find their report on page 9 of the agenda. The Economic Development, Tourism and Community Program Working Group, which is on page 18 of the agenda, and the Safety and Security Working Group, which is on page 20 of the agenda. So the minutes aren't released yet. So the actual talking points from the meeting, I can't share with you yet, but if you look on those pages, you can see that they all created their own mandates and their own, goals, and they had great discussions, and I'm hoping to have more of an update when we meet next week. As I think Councilor Utley mentioned, the meetings are happening after the BIA meetings, so it's a bit complicated to be able to provide you with more of an update than that.
Sorry, Councillor Wall, we're having a communication problem with you. I don't think you can even hear me.
But I know that, Barbara, you were at the meeting. If there's anything else you want to share, or if there's any particular questions anybody wants to ask, I'm all for it. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you very well. Your communication's delayed
Can you see me?
and a bit broken up. Okay, but I think we got the gist of it. Thank you so much, Councillor Wall. Question, Dwight?
I just had a question for Councillor Wall. I asked for some information on the outreach program, which was very, and I believe was sent out to the membership. It was very informative with things. I feel that a real good outreach program would solve a lot of our issues here. It's, as far as I'm concerned, most of our problems are related to the core roots of health, and the province should be taking care of some of this. And this outreach program, as it is, seems to be working really, really well. Now, you could lead a horse to water, and you can't make it drink. A lot of these people, a lot of the homeless situations, for whatever reasons, they will not partake of the services that are being recommended to them. And that's too bad. But with the winter months coming in here and a lot of the people here, I'm sure it's going to create some travesty for sure. It just, breaks my heart to see a lot of these people choose the way they want to be with things, but it's just difficult out there. Homelessness, the drug addiction problems just seem to be skyrocketing with things, and the rest of it. So I think our real focus should be on the outreach program and keep pushing it and securing it. And St. Leonard's done a great job, and Alana gave us a great update, and I'm looking forward to the next quarterly update, and we'll see how things are moving along. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions regarding the task force? No. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Wall. We're going to move on to our subcommittee and our liaison partner reports. Sergeant Grantham, is he available for an update? I see that Chief Davis is still with us. Annette, did you hear from Sergeant Grantham? No. Okay. All right. Maybe we'll just go past that one quickly, and if someone turns up, then we'll come back to that. All right, Beth. From Lori.
Good morning. Thanks, Barbara. Nice to see everyone. Just a couple of quick updates. I may have mentioned at a previous meeting that we have a new position at the Brantford campus called Campus Experience Coordinator. It's because of our unique urban integrated model. You can't leave, you can't travel between two Laurier buildings in Brantford without interacting with BIA members, city property, all that stuff. So this person's job is to ensure the best possible experience on our campus for our students, faculty, staff, and our community neighbors. So Beth Sanders is in that role. So if anyone wants to reach out to her, please feel free to. Her first stop was an environmental scan to make connections with all the partners, including the BIA. So thank you everyone for your time with that. And she's focusing on addressing concerns that are raised, but also creating additional vibrancy so the student experience is the best it can be. So she has an event proposal in for funding consideration this week. So if it gets approval, I'll come back to the BIA. And I believe she's connecting with Jennifer after Jennifer gets all of the work that she's probably going to be doing in the next 24 hours plus to get Remembrance Day observances complete. Then they'll be connecting to see if we can pull off what we're hoping to. But we're looking at doing an event in January in Harmony Square to welcome the students back. Indoor events are a challenge right now, but we still want to create that sense of vibrancy, and we want to point the students to all the great things that are available to them downtown so that they get out and about. The goal still for January is that we return to life as normal on the academic side of the shop. So students should be in in-person classes. I know that the numbers we're all watching daily as they change, but that is the plan at this time. So I think we will see a great infusion of activity because we'll go from, I would say, probably 10% of our student population downtown right now to full complement, hopefully in January. And just the last thing I'll mention is if you're superstitious or pray or whatever, on November 13th, our first ever varsity team at the Brantford campus was cross country. And what made me really happy about that is that the coach for that team is Corey Curry, who is a Brantford born and I don't know if he's born here. I believe he is, but Corey is a proud Brantfordian to say the least. And he's the coach of that team. And the women's team made it to the nationals. So on November 13th, they'll be in Calgary running for the pride of Laurier and Brantford. So, cross your fingers for them and hope for the best. And I will hopefully bring back a positive report from that as well at the next BIA meeting. And that's it for me, Barbara, unless anyone has specific questions.
That's great, Beth, and congratulations. All right. Goggin, are you with us? And welcome, Councillor Utley.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, John.
Morning.
Hi, Dwight.
Good morning, Barbara. Sorry, my video was off because my power went out this morning. So if you can't hear me, just let me know.
We can hear you. We can see you.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent.
So I just have one quick update for the Brantford streetscaping. So as I mentioned in my last update, we were planning on hosting an additional workshop with some members of the BIA. And we did have that workshop. Several folks on this call were present to meet with our project team and talk about issues that came up, talk about any concerns that anybody had for the businesses from their perspective. And the consultant did take that back. I know I haven't reached out yet to schedule a second one. The consultant's still working on all of the feedback you had given, and they are readjusting the cross sections based on what we talked about. So they are looking at all of that information, and we should have something back in the next couple of weeks to come back to the BI very shortly. So that's my update of where we're at right now. And once the workshops are complete and we can kind of get a feel for how everybody's feeling on the new proposed cross section, and if there are any issues, once that's all finalized, then we'll move to the next stage, which is looking at very closely at how the streets will look block by block, and how the side streets like Queen, Market, King, Charlotte will all interact with Dalhousie and Colburn. So we are working on it, and hopefully over the next month or so, we should have something to present to the BIA again. And happy to take questions.
Oh, thank you. Does anyone have questions of Gagan and how we're moving along? Not at the moment. Thank you very much, Gagan. All right, Karen, do you have an update?
Yes, I have an update for you. I'm not sure how many of you had the opportunity to listen to the interview that David Prang from the Brant Chamber of Commerce did with President John Tibbetts, the CEO and president of Conestoga College. On October 28th, I believe they sat down for about 28 minutes. He certainly, Dr. Tibbetts, presented his vision for his commitment to the city of Conestoga, city of Brantford with Conestoga presence. And he's got a great task in plan with projecting another total of 5,000 to 7,000 students within the next 7 to 8 years, and certainly looking at workforce needs and ensuring that we make our commitment to the community to make it live, everyone to live, love, and prosper in our community. I will be returning back to Brantford and the School of Business starting on Monday, and my commitment is to support his initiative in any way I can. And one of the things I'm going to be exploring is looking at outcomes. I want to look at our graduates from the Brantford campus around where are they working, where are they living, and what impact they've had in the Brantford community. And I will certainly report back any data that I'm able to find out. I have reached out to find out where our enrollments stand. And again, at present, we are online. But as Beth has indicated, we too are planning on returning to face-to-face delivery for January 2022. We have our 10-day count for fall at over 1,100 students for fall in the Brantford courses. We offer 13 within the School of Business, not including ECE and everything that's happening out of the airport. Around 900 of them are international students, and close to 200 of them are domestic students. And our projected is about the same for winter, but they will be more on campus. It's about a 70% face-to-face and 30% online for most programs. So very excited. Please watch that video and hear John Tibbetts, Dr. John Tibbetts' commitment to the city of Brantford. It will mean more investment in buildings and infrastructure to make that happen. But I'm very excited about the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Excuse me. Does anyone have a question of Karen? Go ahead, Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Karen. Karen, that's great news. I'm excited like you always are. What can you share with us especially with the international students, their opinions isn't the right word, but their experiences in Brantford, learning in Brantford, are they positive, are they negative, or a little bit in between? That will be useful information to, especially as a DBIA, to know what we can do to sort of fine tune and tweak some of the things we need to do.
Good question, John. I'm very pleased that the Brantford Immigration Partnership that I sit on is really wanting to have a better understanding of the international student from Conestoga College. And they are in the midst of doing a survey. And I've certainly pushed that survey out to our international students to get more data. I don't think it will be accurate data right now because a lot of our international students are still either in their home country or working online. And I don't think it gives the true picture. I think we need to look pre-COVID and post-COVID, if we have that kind of, we can say that, to really get a sense of how they feel about Brantford. Anecdotally, I've never heard anything negative. Over the last year, they like the community. They think Canadians are very welcoming and friendly, and they're able to get part-time jobs. I see them in Walmart. I see them at the restaurants, and they seem to be doing well. But I would like some more data as we move forward. So I'll present whatever I can find.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you both. All right, we'll move on to Shaylin Harris. Good morning, Shaylin.
Good morning. Not too much on our end to update everyone on. The only update I have is that our virtual walk program, which is called Foot Patrol, was being delivered virtually while we were trying to deal with volunteer capacity as well as COVID restrictions. But in response to student demand, we're now able to offer from Monday to Thursday from 6:30 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. in-person walks for students within 2 kilometers of the campus. So if you see some folks in blue jackets with flashlights in the downtown, that's who they are. And once it gets colder, they can also use the Foot Patrol van to give students a safe ride home. So currently on Fridays from 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. we're operating virtually and not on the weekends, but we're hoping to increase our capacity moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Anything else, Shaylin, or is that it?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. And we have city council updates, and it's a toss-up between Councillor Utley or Councillor Wall.
I'll fight you for it, Councillor Utley. Okay, my apologies about my internet connection. The power flickered on and off and I had to scramble to connect to my hotspot. So I'm not sure what you missed. I won't go into my downtown task force again, but I will put a bookend on that. Basically, I sent out a copy of the agenda. Everything I referenced is in the agenda. If you'd like, I'm sure Annette can send out a copy to you. But the one point that I really wanted to mention was each of the working groups of the task force, when they met, they created a terms of reference and a project charter. And that was basically what had transpired from that. So then my council updates, and maybe Councillor Utley might have some to add. So the first update is the Ward 1 seat vacancy. Sure, everybody heard about it. There is a vacancy on council. Councillor Weaver is resigned. We wish him the best of everything with what's going on, and he will be greatly missed because he was an incredible community leader, and he served this community for a long time, and it's just amazing. And I hope we hear positive news in the near future. If you know anybody who is a qualified candidate for the Ward 1 position, I highly recommend you encourage them. Hi, sorry. I was here by myself and now I'm not. Forgive me. Second update is the creation of an Indigenous Affairs Officer position, which was a motion I'm so proud to have brought to our council and have support from our council. We have a long way to go with our relations with our Indigenous neighbors, and now is the time. And I hope that that position is filled by a qualified candidate and we can begin working on reconciliation. And then additionally, Councillor Antosky moved forth a motion endorsing an additional long-term beds at the John Noble Home, which I think is going to be a huge improvement for our community and for those in need. So those are my updates from council that I thought y'all might be interested in. Councillor Utley, if you have anything else.
I do have a couple of things. Thank you, Councillor, through you, Madam Chair. One is we had a meeting last week, I think, with Annette and Barbara and myself, and we discussed the ongoing waste pickup and litter problem downtown. So we've arranged through Gagan. She has arranged a meeting for us next week, I think, to just kick around some ideas. Number one, and if I may, Madam Chair, I wanted to ask Laurier the same question that I asked Conestoga. Are you getting any feedback, or are you surveying students to find out what their experiences are with Brantford outside of classes? And then lastly, I believe the Crystal Cottage is gone, it's moved, and now the developer can get along with creating a nice development that will bring a lot more people to the downtown area. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Okay, seeing none. Thank you.
Silence, I love it.
Thank you, both Councillor Wall and Councillor Utley. Just one brief comment on the Crystal Cottage. It was actually on CH News last night, and good coverage of that. And a few of the little bottles are broken. A bit of the brickwork has separated, but they said it can be fixed. So
and the tires popped on the
and
trailer.
Tires popped.
What are the
gosh.
just an adventure and a half. Wow.
Yeah.
Right, but
doesn't happen very often.
No, so thank you. Beautiful little cottage, and we look forward to the new development in its place, and we're glad it found a home, so that all is well. All right, city staff updates.
Barbara, may I answer Councillor Utley's question, or?
Absolutely, Beth, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Utley, we actually did work with the Strategic Council, which is an external third-party vendor to do what we call the Brantford Campus Reputation Study. We undertook that work, I want to say it was the first summer after COVID. So we were targeting students who came and stayed, who came and left, or who came, or who, am I frozen? No, I'm good, okay. Who applied to a program that we offer, but did.
Oh, dear. We lost you. We lost you, Beth. There must be an electrical problem somewhere happening. I know my lights were flashing on and off last night myself. All right, we'll come back to Beth if she comes back to us.
Thank you.
All right, May, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay.
We're not having any problems over in Echo Place, so happy to say that. But thank you, Barb, and nice to see everyone this morning. BRC is back in the new City Hall. Happy to be there. We're in the office most days, but the office is open. We are still meeting with clients online. We have just found that easier. Hopefully we can start in-person meetings in the new year. We have had a lot of interest with online consultations and people wanting to start businesses. So that's exciting. A lot of interest in our Starter Company Plus grant program. We are running a full slate of workshops. We have a few going into December, and then a full slate again in January, February, and March. Once again, right now where they are online, hopefully we are looking to see how the hybrid meetings go, because it'd be great to offer those both in person and online. So we'll see how that works out. We mentioned earlier in September, we received a $15,000 Digital Service Squad grant. We hired somebody as a Digital Service Squad member, and she has reached over 70 businesses. That was at the end of October in the city of Brantford. There's something called the Digital Transformation Grant, which I've mentioned before, that is between brick and mortar businesses and the Ontario BIA, and they can receive $2,500 as well as training to improve their digital technologies. And I'm happy to say there was over 50 businesses going through that training in the city of Brantford. We've had 20 businesses that have applied for it, either received the grant or are waiting on the grant. And that's very exciting because, as we all know, businesses have not, if you're not online in some way, you are not going to survive. And COVID has shown us that. So very pleased. The Digital Transformation Grant was extended to the end of November. So I'll give you an update on the numbers in our December meeting. And that's everything right now. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
I actually have a question. Do you know anything about the Main Streets program?
My Main Street, yes, we are
Okay.
actually, we've had a few meetings. That's the whole Economic Development Department, and we are going to reach out to you. That's an exciting opportunity for the city. Yes, there's two different streams, the Business Accelerator and Community Activator. There's, and the Community Activator is placemaking, how to beautify a place. With those programs, you have to focus on a specific area within the city. So I think we would all like to focus on the downtown. So we will be reaching out to you about those programs. Yes.
Okay, excellent. We'd like to meet with you as well, May, because we need to understand it just a little better. All right, thank you. All right, so we're back to Jennifer. You're popular this morning. Do you have anything else to tell us?
Just a couple of updates. Beth kind of touched on it a little bit. Because everything has been changing with the province, we were able to pivot to an in-person Remembrance Day ceremony. So we are offering both a virtual Remembrance Day ceremony, which can be viewed from our City of Brantford website, Facebook, social media outlets, and we're also doing an in-person tomorrow. So if you're available, please come down. We're honored to be able to have pulled this off. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the flags that went up in Harmony, but if you haven't gone down there, you are going to want to go see this. So newly installed is a light system. So if you go down at dusk, each flag will be lit up, and I have full control over doing a light show. It's very dangerous, of different colors. So depending on what the circumstances, what the month is, so the flags will go red for Remembrance Day. They'll be white on any other day. Christmas, I can do a Christmas light show. So if you ever see the lights being changed, I'm sitting on a patio somewhere just playing with them. So that's pretty exciting to see. So go down there at night to check it out. And then the ice is going to start to go in the first week of December.
Excellent. Dwight, do you have a question?
Jennifer, how are we working out with the washrooms, public washrooms and that down there?
I have a request in right now to find out if the washrooms are going to come back for the ice. When I have an event, I bring washrooms in. But if you're talking about the ones that are inside, that is out of my scope, and I am not sure where that's at right now. I know it's in legal's hands.
I think we need to check into things a little bit more because we're getting an awful lot of people, unfortunately, with the COVID protocols and everything. It's hard, and you'd hate to turn people away, but you've just got your own customers in the restaurants and the rest of it here. So there is a bit of an onus for a public washroom of some sort for people would be helpful. There must be some way around it. So I would say maybe we need to get together and work on it a little more. Definitely for the ice services with the children and stuff going on. So I guess the protocols there would be sanitizing and stuff, right?
Yeah, there will be a washroom with a sanitizer inside of it.
Okay. But it's
I'll
not.
follow up with that and have a report. I'll send it with my report to Annette.
But the public washrooms in there, there's no, the city isn't opening that up at all?
That I have no idea where that stands. It's in legal's hands right now, and it's been with legal for a while. So I don't know what the circumstances are on why it's not opening. I don't know any of that legalities.
Maybe we could ask Councillor Wall or Councillor Utley where we're sitting. Thank you, Jennifer.
Councillor Utley, did you have your hand up?
Yes, please, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I can answer Dwight's question a little bit about the public washrooms. My understanding is that the public washroom was pretty much destroyed by some individuals downtown. And I think for that to work properly, it somehow needs to be staffed to prevent that destruction. I mean, it's built at the cost of taxpayers to help individuals. But I guess when you're high on some drugs and some individuals that have a violent tendency that just love to smash things public. So that's the main stumbling block, I think, Dwight, as to how we work around that. I think in the interim, as Jennifer has mentioned, providing temporary or portable washrooms is a good interim solution. It certainly works for or prevents somebody damage that's been done to a public washroom. So I'm not sure where that's going to go right now, Dwight, but certainly Councillor Wall and I can get an update from Public Works to see where that's at.
Thank you, Councillor. Lizanna? You're muted, Lizanna.
Dwight's got his hand up as well.
I see that.
Councillor Utley, I was through the chair. I wonder if we have the security system, people downtown looking after the public buildings. So maybe it's a question of working them into the fray here, and that could be used. I mean, they seem to be walking around all over the place, and I don't mean all the time, because obviously I've run into the problems with the drug overdose of people with stuff here, and that's why I can't. Just one day I lent the key out to a person, and it took me 4 hours to get the person out of our washroom because they had locked themselves in there with stuff. It was a real issue and a half, unfortunately. Some people ruin it for other people, but I do think there's a way we could get around it temporarily or something. So I'd make a look at that. Okay.
I'll check that out and get back to Dwight and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Lizanna, go ahead, please.
We're getting quite a few requests to use our washrooms as well. So I think they really need to have maybe a staffed washroom that can be used. If we're asking people to shop downtown coming to our events, it's probably really a wise thing to have washrooms. So I've been sending them to the library. I don't know if that's good or not, but I don't know where to send them. And I feel bad about it because, you know, you say, I'm sorry, you can't use our washrooms.
Okay. Thank you, Lizanna. Annette, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Barbara, I can't remember what meeting it was in. I'm pretty sure you were there, and I asked this question about the city hall washrooms, and they are public. And I guess security lets you in, security lets you out. So I guess that's an alternative for people to use the city hall washrooms.
Thank you.
Good point. Okay.
Point to that, access to City Hall is you're required to provide proof of vaccination.
Right.
Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
I'll just give you a quick history on the public washrooms in Harmony Square, just so you understand. So they were open as part of the Harmony Square development, and then they were abused by users. And then we locked them down, and then we had them opening for events. And then the city held a key to open them for events, but then they letting people in even when there were not events. And then there was still vandalism done to the washrooms to the point they kicked in water lines and it flooded the basement. We were on the run multiple times. They also set a fire in the garbage bin. And so we locked them down again, being property management as well as when we did the condo conversion, and I'm on the condominium board. They were locked down due to the vandalism, and there are residents living and sleeping in there. So we can't have that danger, that risk there for residents in the building if people are going to set fires and kick in water lines. So it's been frustrating. So I know that legal between the condo court board and the city of Brantford legal are working on purchasing the washrooms outright as their space to use going forward. So that means the city would be responsible for them, would look after them, and be able to then have full access to them whenever they want them for events. So that's where it's been sitting for a couple of years with lawyers. So they're just trying to figure out, it's not that simple. Sounds simple, but because it's a condominium corporation in the building, they actually have to do a revision to the condominium plan and cut out basically that section of the building on paper, that it becomes not part of the condominium corporation. So not that simple because it's very rarely done, but that's the history, that's the scoop. City will at some point, I assume, hopefully soon, have their hands on that space where then they can police it and use it as they need or want.
Thanks, Kathy. All right. Okay, that was a good discussion. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're on to external committee updates. Does anyone have a committee update that they'd like to give us? Seeing none, I'll just speak about the safety and security task force meeting. There are some things I will say and other things that we haven't decided on, and I don't have minutes from the economic development, so I can't speak to that. But we are, a lot of the conversations around CCTV, the closed captioned cameras, and apparently they're coming soon to a neighborhood close to you, and we look forward to that installation. We're looking at security systems in our businesses and seeing what's out there, doing an inventory on that. What else? Sorry, I'm just going through my notes very quickly here. It looks like downtown security is dealing with 700 incidents per month. That's quite a bit, and we've heard from the chief about their challenges in the downtown, and I think that's about it. Hold on, just sorry, trying to chair and trying to talk are two different things. Oh, and we're inventory of programs and initiatives at community resources that have been deployed in the downtown. So we're the members of the task force are also Conestoga College, Laurier, Elements, Casino Brantford, and other private security teams. And so what they're trying to do is put together a whole roadmap of what security systems we have out there and where the gaps are. And so that's a good place to start. Next steps are security inventory, faculty research on homelessness, which is I think Beth knows more about that. Because that was Laurier, and addressing the criminal justice system, which is popping up in every single conversation at every meeting we attend, and then input from Brantford Police Services, which we've had. So that's all I can tell you about the working groups in the task force right now. So if anyone else has any other committees to talk about, Dwight, do you have a committee report?
I'd just like to put out a special acknowledgement to Frank and Nancy DeFelice for their presentation this year of the International Jazz Festival, which was a virtual one in October. But it really highlighted the downtown of Brantford here. Frank came across some vintage film of different locations. Unfortunately, couldn't find one of a chip stand, but they did highlight a number of buildings in the downtown here and build it into the Jazz Festival virtual presentation there. And it was phenomenal. If somebody missed it and didn't see it, they should have, because it's just phenomenal. And it's a lot of work, but Frank and Nancy, they're just downtown promoters, and I'm sure it got out to a number of people. That sure brought me back a lot of memories for all these soapbox derby on the Market Street downhill and different other things there. So anyhow, a special acknowledgement to Frank and Nancy DeFelice on their presentation, and they acknowledged our support as well. If it wasn't for our support too, helping them all the way along the line. So
Thank you, Dwight. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. I'm going to call for the adjournment. Kathy, are you voting in favor of adjournment? Yes, all of us. All right, our next meeting is December, unbelievably, December 9th. I'm sorry, no, that's our AGM. And our next board meeting will be December 8th. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Good
Bye.
job.